Hey, hey, hey. Good afternoon. Hope we're doing good in chat. I'm seeing a lot of conversation in chat. Not conversation, but you know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say. Um, should I have live chats visible? I was thinking about that. Whether I should have the live chat visible. Cause I think we could. We could do that. Cause this is just gonna be a chat, like this is gonna be a conversation stream. So I think maybe we'll put a live chat on. Maybe. Maybe we'll. I think that's good. Hey FGH, what's going on? I see you're in chats. FGH, Evan the Ferry. Give me a second here. Let me just get the chat. Cause I think it would make more sense if I have the chat on. I haven't used live chats for a very long time, like visual live chats. So uh okay. Give me a second. Let me just check something here. Make sure I have this going. I think this is good. I think so. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I hope you guys are doing good in chat. We're going to be talking mainly football. If we have general conversation you guys want to talk about, you can do that as well in chats. Um, okay. This is a long process. Shouldn't be a long process. Give me a second here. Let me just make sure everything is Gucci in the Louis store because I don't want the stream to be going on and the internet goes off. So I'm trying to fix the live chat. I'm also trying to fix the stream. Okay, no, this doesn't work like this. 8422. Come on now. But yeah, let me know. Get your questions in. Get your questions in chat. Um, Jesus Christ, this is taking too long. Get your questions in chat. I'll definitely come to them when I have this fixed up for sure. I've got a new feature as well that I want to try. Definitely want to try that. Evander Ferry, I've seen your chats. We'll be getting into that. Okay. Um All right, all right, all right. We're in. Conversations. As I said, yeah, the chat. Forgot about the chat. Quite literally forgot about the chat. The chat is on, but I think I need to customize this, don't I? I might need to customize this. Um, it's weird. Menu bar. The overlay is good, but the chat overlay is good, but the spacing is weird. I'll show it on screen soon. Don't worry about it. I'll show it on screen very soon, but it's very weird. Maybe did I put it on the right? It's weird. Okay. It's a long process. Too long. Again, get your questions in. I will definitely talk about them once I get this issue with the do this, do this, do this, do this. Okay. All right. Let's get into the conversations. All right, I think I've got it now. Let me just transition. All right, I think we can do this. It's not the best looking. All right, let me just change this to the normal size. I've got the chat overlay done, but the size isn't good. Let me just take this out. This is taking a while to start this conversation, but we'll start it. Don't worry about it. We will definitely start the convos. Let me just make sure this is right. Make sure we have everything on point. I think we're good. I hope we're good. Jeez. So should I put this here instead? Right or left? Let me just put it on the left. You guys are putting in some good conversations in chat. I appreciate this. We'll get into them for sure. I promise you that. Let me just get this chat down. All right. Okay, I think this is way better. Okay, it was the size. All right, it was the size. All right, let's transition. Let's get into the conversations then. So, football talk. I'm mainly doing this because there's nothing really on in terms of football options. Like, there's nothing really like, you know, going on. Like the matches. I mean, what's today's matches like? There's nothing really, even in the Serie A. There's nothing really going on. Premier League, Manchester City, Leeds. You know, it's Sunderland, Bournemouth, Everton, Newcastle, Tottenham, Fulham. Like, there's nothing really going on. Serie A as well. Milan Lazio might be a good match, but not really interested in that. So we're just gonna talk some football today. That's what we're going to be doing. So let's get into the first first chat, first live chat. So what we have today is we have a text to speech, and we can do that here. So let's go on FGH first
FGH
comment.
7754. What do you think about Chelsea's title hopes? Do you think they are in the title race?
With Chelsea, the thing with Chelsea is they are a team that you can't really predict. I mean, we looked at Chelsea against Barcelona, Chelsea against PSG in the Club World Cup. You know, they've come up against opposition you'd kind of expect them not to play the best against, and they end up putting out probably their best performance. And it's crazy. It really is, because again, I think they're I really don't know how to describe Chelsea. But yeah, in relation to the title race, I think at the moment they're there and thereabouts, you know? They're there and thereabouts in the title race. I mean, we can have a look at the title, the league table in the Prem here. Let me just make sure I have this on. Oh, actually, if I don't have this on, it wouldn't work, innit? It wouldn't work. Can do this with the web page. Put this here, and then okay, interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Yeah. So we can have a look at the Premier League table at the moment and see where Chelsea are at. I mean, they're there and thereabouts. You know, Chelsea are there and thereabouts, and it's interesting. They are an interesting side, because we can write them off, and all of a sudden, before you know what's happening, Chelsea are in a title race. You know, I mean, 6 points behind Arsenal. If they win against them, it becomes 3 points. So technically, they're in the title race. Manchester City, I don't think Manchester City are ready for a title race at the moment. I don't think their players are set and ready for the title race at the moment. And I really do think it's going to be difficult for Manchester City to get in and amongst it, because I said this in the Newcastle game, that if Manchester City want to be in this title race, they need to be winning games like that. They need to be, you know, going to matches like Newcastle and getting results. That's what they need to do if they want to win, you know, not even win the title, just be in the title race and be in that conversation. They definitely need to, you know, start getting in the conversations for the title race, start winning games. You know, they can't just be there and not engage themselves in the title race and be. Sorry, they can't just be there and be losing games. I'm not concentrating, to be honest. I'm still having some issues here, but I'll fix it. But yeah, I think for Manchester City to get in that conversation for the title race, they need to start winning games that, you know, normally you'd expect them to be winning, that they're not. So definitely, I think Manchester City, although they are in the conversation, I mean, it's what, 7 points. I think Arsenal at the moment are the most consistent team in Europe. So it's going to be very difficult to see how this Arsenal team drops enough points for Chelsea and Manchester City to make an impact. But yeah, I mean, Chelsea have the opportunity tomorrow to do that, definitely. So we can see how that goes. Why is this not showing? Anytime I switch, my chat just vanishes for some reason. Weird.
Evander Furry. Rice or Cachado?
Rice or Caicedo? That's an interesting question. That's an interesting question. At the moment, I mean, I feel like it depends on what you want. I think both players are very good players, obviously, but I think they both play different roles. You know, they're both playing different roles for their teams, and I think to choose between one of them is going to be difficult. So I think it kind of depends on what you want. I really do think so. I think it's Caicedo is more of an N'Golo Kante, and Rice is more of a. I think Rice is more of a Rodri, to be honest. And Rodri and Caicedo don't play the same way. So, I mean, if I had to pick for my team, probably Caicedo. Probably Caicedo. I think Declan Rice. I think we have Declan Rice in our team, which is Chouamini. He plays very similarly to Rodri. So I think we need someone who can win the ball. So if I had to pick for Real Madrid, I'll probably pick Caicedo. I think so. For me personally, I would pick Caicedo over Rice based on what I would prefer to be in a Real Madrid team at the moment. But I do think, I mean, both players are fantastic players, and yeah, it's very difficult to pick between the two. I think so. Very difficult.
UCL predictions.
UCL predictions. I mean, Arsenal. That's my prediction. But I think I'm doing that based on what I've seen Arsenal do this season. I'm not doing that based on, I'm not doing that based on who I think might win it. I'm doing that based on what I'm seeing this season. And what I'm seeing this season, based on the numbers, based on everything, I think Arsenal definitely to win the Champions League. It'd be interesting if someone else won it, because I think at the moment, if you had to predict, which is what I'm doing, I think Arsenal, Bayern, Chelsea. The reason I'm adding Chelsea to the mix is, as I said, Chelsea are the most unpredictable team in Europe at the moment. They can win against anyone, and I wouldn't be surprised if they lost yesterday. Tomorrow. I really wouldn't be surprised if they lose tomorrow, because it will be so typical of Chelsea to win against Barcelona and drop points against Arsenal. And I'm not saying that in disrespect to Arsenal, because Arsenal, if I had to guess who was going to win tomorrow's match, it would probably be Arsenal. But I think Chelsea have a very good chance. But I also think that Chelsea could, mess things up. I think Chelsea could really mess things up when it comes to, being consistent. And I think that's also a conversation for the title race. The reason I'm not adding Chelsea into the title race is I think they are so inconsistent that it's, they're not going to be able to catch up or keep up with Arsenal. And I think Arsenal have shown so much consistency that they're going to be able to keep the title race strong and keep the conversation going. So it's in Arsenal's hands, to be honest. It really is. That's what I think.
FGH 7754. Who's the next 100M signing? Realistically.
I mean, it's very difficult at the moment to find 100 million signing. I mean, which player can you realistically say is 100 million sided at the moment? I mean, the obvious players are players like Lamine Yamal, but Barcelona are not going to play. They're not going to sell Lamine Yamal. So I'm thinking of players that can go to other teams, but for 100 million. I think Brighton don't really have a 100 million player at the moment. You would probably say Konate. No, Konate. I'm thinking of Konate. You probably say, I saw the Konate question from Evander in chat, that's why. You probably say Baliba last season, but this season is trash. So probably not. I really don't know who the next 100 million signing could be. Mark Gahey at Crystal Palace. I don't think Mark Gahey is 100 million signing because of his age. His age doesn't depict 100 million signing. I think the next 100 million signing would be made by Real Madrid. I think we're due that player because at the moment with the situation with Real Madrid, I mean, to be honest, that's a good segue to Derek's question. I think with the situation with Real Madrid,
main issue at Real Madrid.
I think with the situation with Real Madrid, we need a player that can come in and really shake up the team in terms of bringing that aura and, you know, organize the team. And I think it's only going to be 100 million player, you know, 100 million pounds type of player that's going to do that. 100 million. I really think that's what Real Madrid need, because the situation with Vinicius and Alonso, I mean, I made a video on it on the channel, so you can check that out if you want to. But I think the situation with Vinicius and Xabi Alonso and some of the players not playing well, Valverde, Houghton to some certain extent, you know, some of these players are not playing well. And I think there's no real leader in the Real Madrid team that can organize everything and, you know, put everyone in line like the way players like Modric would do, like someone like Sergio Ramos would do. And I think with that, it just makes the manager's job pretty difficult, because when there's no one to be a manager on the field, it makes things difficult. So my main issue, what I think of the issue at Real Madrid, is there's just a lack of leadership. And the people you'd expect to be the leadership entities or the leadership individuals are not making things easy for Xabi Alonso. You know, you'd not expect a leader to come out and say he's not going to, you know, he's not going to sign a contract, because that's what basically Vinicius is saying. He's basically saying he's not going to sign a contract unless something is done about Xabi Alonso, which is not, it's not a support of the manager. So I think the situation with Real Madrid is just a lack of leaders. And I think with that, Real Madrid might spend heavy on someone who can come in and bring that leadership quality to the team. I think so.
Evander Furry. Thoughts on the Real Madrid Konate situation?
I mean, it's obvious. I mean, it was very obvious that Konate was not going to be a Real Madrid player. Like, it's a funny one. It's a funny one, the Konate situation with Real Madrid, because last season it would have been a great addition to the Real Madrid team, but this season, which is funny, because if Konate is playing like this, it's kind of like the Manchester United Baleba situation. Manchester United wanted to get Carlos Baleba from Brighton, and Brighton were kind of like 100 million or nothing. And Manchester United were like, we don't think he's a 100 million player, or we don't have 100 million to offer you. And Brighton were like, well, if you don't have that, we're not going to sell him to you. And based on Baleba's performances last season, you'd kind of justify 100 million. The season goes by and Baleba is just playing absolutely trash. Like, he's getting subbed off in 60th minute, 50th minute. Like, he hasn't played a full 90 this season, I believe, in the Premier League for Brighton. That's how bad he's been. And on that, his value is rapidly dropping. And it's confusing, because you think when a player doesn't get his move to the desired club, he'd play the best he can so that the club, you know, maintains interest in him. But it's the exact opposite when it comes to players like Carlos Baleba and Konate. So I think it was bound to happen if the performances continued from Konate this season. And I'm very excited. I'm very happy that Real Madrid have decided to pivot. I would like a Mark Gahey. You know, I wouldn't mind a Mark Gahey in Real Madrid. Excuse me, sorry about that. Yeah, I wouldn't mind a Mark Gahey in Real Madrid at the moment. So Konate, I think.
Furry. Peak Hazard vs Peak Salah.
It's
who
just
you choosing?
Peak Hazard versus Peak Salah. It's a question for It's a question that always gets asked in the Premier League fandom. It's a tough one. I was fortunate to watch both Hazard at his peak and Salah at his peak. If you want to go numbers, I think Salah. If you want to go solely numbers, I think Salah definitely trumps Eden Hazard. But if you want to go player performances, that's where I think things become interesting. Because in terms of player performances and the better footballer, Eden Hazard, every day of the week. Every day of the week, Eden Hazard. If you want to go player performances. But if you want to put numbers on the board, Salah is definitely the player. So for me, a fan of Real Madrid who saw Eden Hazard come to Real Madrid and didn't perform as well as we'd expected him to perform, because that's the only thing that he has over most players is his performance, I would say Salah. I would say peak Salah, prime Salah over Eden Hazard, because prime Salah would get you the numbers. Prime Eden Hazard will get you the performances. Prime Hazard would get you the performances, but I think prime Salah gets you the numbers, which is very important because goals win you games.
Derek I9X. Gaming companies are dropping half-finished games and patching later, annoying trend. But people still buy. We really have to start boycotting some of these companies.
This is an interesting one. I mean, it's not football related, but we'll talk about it. I think so. I think you're right. But the problem is, let me use an example. FC26, which we do play on the channel. You can check that out. We have a Girona career mode going on every Tuesday and Thursday, for 4 p.m. every Tuesday and Thursday, 4 p.m. GMT. FC26 is not a complete game. It's not a finished game, I think, and it's a game that has a lot of bugs. But the problem with FC26 is EA know that there's no real competition in the market for a football simulator or a football game in general. So they can produce a bad game. And the funny thing is, when EA FC26, allegedly, because I didn't play the game when it came out fresh, when the network literally just went down. My network went down. I hope it's better now. Let me just confirm this. I think it's better now. I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. It is better now. But as I was saying, the issue with gaming companies is, especially the big gaming companies, the issue is they don't have real competitors. Like as I was saying, with FC26, there is no real competitor in the market for EA to feel like they need to change things up. You know? There's no real competitor out there for EA to feel the need to change anything. So they're just, kind of there and thereabouts releasing anything to anyone because they don't feel the pressure. They're really not. They're really not feeling the pressure at all. Because there's no pressure being put on them by anyone. They're just, releasing the game, Be it good, be it bad, it's just out. It's just out there because they know regardless of what they release to people, people are gonna buy. So I think that's the main thing. That's the main thing with that's the main thing with what's it called? The games out there just being bad, being released unfinished and stuff like that. There's just no competition from anyone for them to release proper games. Like, think about it. If EAFC had to release a game knowing that someone like Konami was releasing a game equally in terms of quality, if they knew someone was doing something like that, they'd be very, very tempted to release an actually completed game because they know if they don't release a complete game or a well done game and Konami do that, they're going to lose customers. So it's a kind of supply and demand thing that
FGH
is out there.
7754. Do you think Slot is going to get fired?
That's a tough question. That's a tough question. The situation at Liverpool is I don't even know how to start this. The situation at Liverpool is confusing because they're a big club. They're a big club with standards, and they're a club that wants to engage themselves in the top four. I mean, winning the league a season ago and being in the situation they are in this season must be undescribable to Liverpool fans. I really do think so because you win the league and you'd expect to at least go and try and do it again. It's going to be difficult to try and do it again, but you'd want to be in that conversation, to be there and thereabouts. That's what you'd expect to be the situation at Liverpool. So for them to be in this current climate, it's very difficult. And another thing is, if they do go on to sack Arne Slot, who is going to be the next manager? Who's honestly going to be the next manager for them to go and employ? Because I don't think Klopp is going to come back. Nagelsmann is there, but it's kind of like... And I think another thing people are not taking into consideration is Liverpool are in a rebuild phase. The tragedy with Diego Jota, Salah isn't at his best, so he's basically not in the team. Virgil van Dijk isn't at his best. Konate isn't at his best. New players like Kerkez, Frimpong, Florian Wirtz, Isak have to fit into the team. So I think there's so many transitions going on in that Liverpool side. Obviously, I don't think that's a solid and good enough reason for them to be in the situation that they are in at the moment. But I think with all these transitions going on, they are kind of rebuilding. It's not an instance, it's the same team that won the Premier League last season that's playing this season. I don't think you can say that. Because, as I said, Jota tragically passed. Diaz, your front three is basically not there because this is not the same Salah we had last season. So it's basically a whole different player playing on the right wing. So their entire front three that you would arguably say was a pivotal part of their title run and everything are not available. Trent, who was one of the most important players in that Liverpool side, is not available. Virgil van Dijk is a shell of his former self. So there's a whole lot of changes going on in that Liverpool team. So even if they do go on to sack Arne Slot, I think the next manager coming in still has a difficult job on his hands. People are saying the West Ham match is going to be the match that seals it. I mean, probably, but if they plan to spend in the January transfer window for Arne Slot, then he's definitely not getting the sack. But another thing is, if they're not gonna spend on Arnie Slot, sorry, if they're gonna spend on Arnie Slot and the season keeps going downhill like it is at the moment, how bad is it gonna get until you sack Arnie Slot? Is the question. So I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna get fired. I really don't know if Arnie Slot is gonna get fired. So I'm gonna say no on that. I don't think Arnie Slot is gonna get fired.
Furry. Salah has been more consistent than Neymar ever was.
Oh, that's a tough one. That's a tough take. That's a hot take. That's a scolding hot take from Evander Fury. That's a scolding hot take by Evander Fury. That's insane. I mean, do I pitch into this take or do I just let it slide? He says I stand by it. That's crazy. Salah has been more consistent than Neymar ever was. I don't think Salah. I don't think. Okay, let me look at this let me look at it like this, because I was fortunate to watch Neymar at his prime, Neymar at Barcelona, Neymar at PSG, and Salah at Liverpool. I don't even know how to put this into words. I think I'm not gonna side with you on this. I think Neymar has been more consistent than Salah, because Salah has had seasons where he hasn't played well. He hasn't played as well at his best. Sorry, he hasn't played as well as his best. So if you look at Salah's best season, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to find another season where he's been able to replicate it. Whereas Neymar's best season, he has been able to replicate it multiple times. I mean, we can do that. We can do that here. We can literally check that right here. Let me just check that. Let me go to FootMob. Make sure this is off. Okay, so let's just go to FootMob first of all, and then we'll turn this off. Good. So we can look at Mohamed Salah's best season, and we can look at Mohamed Salah's best season for Liverpool over how many years? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So Salah's debut season, he got 44 goals and 14 assists. That's his best season so far. The closest he has come to that season was last year, where he got 34 goals and 23 assists. You could say, okay, so 44 goals and 14 assists is going to be 59 goal contributions. And last season, he got 58. So the closest Salah has gotten to his best season for Liverpool was last year. So he hasn't been as consistent, because to be consistent, you have to be able to put on your best season year in, year out. So Neymar, let's just do that. Neymar from Barcelona to PSG. So Neymar's best season for Barcelona was 39 goals, 7 assists. Oh my goodness. I might have cooked myself here. Okay, no, I've not. 39 goals and 7 assists. So that's actually not his best season. That's actually not his best season. His best season at Barcelona was 31 goals and 20 assists, which is 51 goal contributions. And he's been able to replicate that, or the closest he's come to that is, oh my goodness, Evander Furry might have cooked here. Evander Furry might have cooked here. So that's I think Evander Ferry might have cooked. That I'm gonna leave it at that. Take take from that what you will. I'm gonna leave it at that. I think Evander Ferry might have cooked here, saying, let me just highlight the message again.
Evander
Can
Ferry.
highlight the message. Okay, I can.
Salah has been more consistent than Neymar ever was. Evander Ferry. Salah has been more consistent than Neymar ever was.
Hey, I'm gonna give you that. I'm gonna give you that, Evander. I am gonna give you that. I think you're onto something. I really do think you're onto something.
Derek I9X. What is your take on the gap between La Liga and the Prem, seeing as La Liga is the second best league in the world?
That's a good question. To be honest, that's a very good question. As a Real Madrid fan, I have a good amount of knowledge on La Liga, and as a football fan, I've watched a lot of Premier League, and I think La Liga is the gap between Premier League and La Liga is massive, like canyon wide massive, like the Grand Canyon type of massive. It is big. The amount of money being spent in Premier League is nowhere near. I made a video on this actually, on the amount of money the Premier League has spent just this transfer window. It is outstanding how much the Premier League is able to spend to bring players into the league, to improve the quality of the league. And we're not just talking Liverpool. Liverpool spent a majority chunk of that Premier League spending, but in general, the amount of money teams were able to spend: Sunderland, Nottingham Forest, West Ham, Newcastle, Manchester United, Chelsea. These teams were able to spend a stupid amount of money to bring talent into their clubs and overall bring talent into the Premier League. And the problem is, I don't think La Liga is ever really going to catch up to the Premier League, because the amount of money La Liga teams are allowed to spend is ridiculous. So in La Liga, there's a rule that basically says teams spend the money that they make, which is, I mean, obviously it makes sense. But what I mean by that is the amount of money a team makes like directly impact everything they spend, and La Liga records everything that you spend in terms of wages, player wages, staff wages, ground, pitch alterations, groundsman, like every single amount of money, every single penny a club spends is being tracked by La Liga. So if, let's say, if Girona qualified for the Champions League last season or last 2 seasons, and they play in the Champions League and they bring players that, they're able to afford because now they have Champions League money, they have to keep qualifying for the Champions League to maintain these players. Because if they drop down and don't qualify for the Champions League the next season, their revenue is obviously going to reduce, and they can't pay the Champions League wages that they were paying before, because now they don't have the Champions League revenue. But when you compare it to Premier League, you can pay Champions League wages when you're not in the Champions League, a la Manchester United. Manchester United pay £300,000 a week to Casemiro, and they haven't played in the Champions League for only God knows how long now, because these wages are not necessarily calculated into FFP. As far as the club is not making a substantial loss in the Premier League, the Premier League is like, hey, spend as much as you can. As far as you're not going to make a loss past a certain amount, you can spend as much as you can. But in La Liga, they track every single thing you spend. So if you hired extra staff because you're in the Champions League, once you get out of the Champions League, you have to cut down your staff to meet, to be equal to the revenue that you have at the moment, because you don't have Champions League revenue. So I think with that in place, that's why you have a lot of teams in La Liga selling before they buy. You can't just, pay wages for you can't just pay Champions League wages for Champions League players when you don't have Champions League football, because it's going to hurt you. That's why teams like Real Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico, although teams like Barcelona are not able to register some players, they're still able to pay these ridiculous wages. Lewandowski, Rafinha, they're still able to pay these wages because they already have the revenue. They're going to qualify for Champions League every single season. That's why it's imperative. It's imperative that Real Madrid qualify for Champions League, because if they don't, it's going to affect them revenue wise. So I think with that in place, the La Liga is never going to be as competitive as the Premier League because of these, I don't want to call them barriers, because it kind of keeps clubs genuine. Because, and I mean, look at the amount of money Chelsea are able to spend. And they recently just got into the Champions League. Over the past few years, they weren't in the Champions League. And they're able to spend this amount of money. I mean, when was the last time Chelsea won a major trophy? Apart from the Conference League and the Club World Cup, but it's recently. But Todd Bowley has been able to come in and spend billions. So I think with that, it's going to be difficult for Premier League for La Liga teams to catch up to Premier League teams. I really do think so, because the quality, I mean, it's just the overall quality. Because you look at Premier League teams, you look at teams like Arsenal, teams like Chelsea, teams like Manchester City, the squad depth that they have, they can keep up with playing Premier League, Champions League, and then their cup games. But you look at a team like Betis, their bench is probably not going to be as good as their first team. So if they lose a player like Anthony, they don't have an adequate replacement that can come in and do something for them. So I think with that, it's just going to keep the gap between La Liga teams and Premier League teams is just going to keep getting bigger, because the revenue, it's all about money at the end of the day. It really is all about money. The TV revenue for La Liga is not that good, which in turn is because of the quality. So it kind of goes hand in hand. The reason I can watch Nottingham Forest versus Liverpool is because I know Nottingham Forest have some good players. The reason I'm not going to watch Real Madrid versus Elche is because I know Elche don't have the quality of players to beat an informed Real Madrid, although we did drop points against Elche because they played good football. But if they didn't play good football, like Nottingham Forest don't play the best looking football, and they're able to get something against Liverpool because they have quality players. Morgan Gibbs-White, Elliot Anderson, one of the hottest midfield prospect in England at the moment, is playing for Nottingham Forest. You can hardly say that about La Liga teams at the moment. Before you could. When Rodri was playing in Villarreal, he looked like one of the best midfielders in Spain when he was playing for Villarreal. So he was good. That was then, when teams like Villarreal were winning Europa League, when teams like Sevilla were constantly winning Europa League and stuff like that. So in turn, people watch more Premier League football because there's more quality, and people watch less La Liga games because there's less quality. The only games that really put the attention to La Liga is Madrid Derby, El Clasico. Apart from that, nothing else. So I think with that, La Liga is just going to be way behind the Premier League. For sure.
FGH 7754. UCL Dark Horse.
UCL Dark Horse Chelsea. Quick question. Quick answer to that.
Derek
UCL Dark Horse is Chelsea.
Is it worth signing big name stars anymore, or is it all about system players?
That's an interesting question. I think quality players are quality players. You can't doubt quality players. You can't say you're not going to buy a quality player because they're expensive. Quality players are quality players. They're going to give you quality at the end of the day. But a team will get you further than an individual player unless it's Messi or Ronaldo. And we've seen that a lot. We've seen that with PSG. We've seen that with Real Madrid. I mean, not really with Real Madrid. Kind of with Real Madrid, because the season Bellingham came in and was playing well, it was a team performance. It wasn't really an individual performance that took us all the way to the final. It was a team performance. Even Benzema's Champions League, it was a team performance. And I think that's also what makes me believe that Arsenal would win the Premier League. I mean, they will win the Premier League, but the Champions League. The reason I think Arsenal will win the Champions League is because they have a team chemistry and a team performance in them. It's not just focused on Saka. Like, Saka could go out for Madueke and the team's going to play the same way. Eze could go out for Odegaard and the team's going to play the same way. Gyökeres could go out for Marino or Kai Havertz and the team's going to play the same way. It's not going to change. So I think that's one of the reasons I believe that Arsenal are going to win the Champions League. And if Real Madrid can get their act together and start playing a team game as compared to relying on Mbappe and Vinicius and Goulet and Bellingham, I think we could go places. But yeah, I think definitely system players are more important than big name stars. But don't underrate big name stars, because if you put an Mbappe in any team, he's gonna play well, But the thing is, he has to be a team player. He has to go into that team and be a team player. So although you can put Mbappe in a team and he play well, he needs to go into that team and want to be a good team player. That's what I think. That's really what I think.
FGH 7754.
I'm enjoying the questions, by the way.
Possession overrated now.
I'm enjoying the questions. Y'all are actually taking this football talk and making it interesting. Is possession overrated now? I don't think so. If you watch the Bayern Arsenal game, it was a possession game, especially in the first half. It was a possession game. And if you know how to play it, you're Gucci in the Louis store. If that's the thing, if you know how to play possession football like Arsenal are, you're Gucci in the Louis store. But the thing is, you need to know when to play possession and when not to play possession. If you're coming up against a team that has a high line, there's no reason you need to play possession if you can play the ball over the top. Like Eze, the assist Eze gave to Martinelli, he could have easily played that ball to someone else and, kind of pass their way through the midfield and get the ball to Martinelli. But if it's available to play the counter ball, you do that. So I don't think possession football is overrated. I think it's underrated, because if you know how to play possession football, if you're a team that knows how to play possession football, you're definitely going to be in
FGH.
You're definitely going to put yourself in a good position.
Which national team will surprise people at the next World Cup?
A lot of teams have qualified for the World Cup at the moment. A lot of teams have qualified for the World Cup, and which team really would surprise? At the moment, I'd say Portugal. I think Portugal probably. I think Portugal probably would surprise a lot of people in the World Cup next year, because I really don't know. If I had to pick, I'd say Portugal. I don't know why I'm picking Portugal, but I'm gonna pick Portugal. There's an interesting question from FGH. It's talking about Burna Boy. Why are we talking about Burna Boy? Never know.
FGH 77.
It's an interesting question.
Any thoughts on the Burna Boy situation with the sleeping fan and him having to cancel shows and stuff, which may not be related but still thought-provoking?
I think the situation with Burna Boy is it's interesting. As a Nigerian myself, I fuck with his music. Excuse my French, but I fuck with his music. And I'm a kind of person that separates the art from the artist. He can be, as an individual, I think maybe not the best personality out there, but it's not everyone that has a good personality. Vinicius Jr. on his day, Vinicius Jr. as a footballer, probably one of the best wingers we've seen play the game. But his personality is what I have an issue with as a Real Madrid fan. So if I'm attributing this to Burna Boy, and if you don't know what happened, let me just give you a synopsis. So there was a concert going on, and I actually don't remember the place the concert went on, but I know it wasn't in Nigeria. So the concert was going on, and Burna Boy apparently came late. I think he gave a reason that he wasn't feeling the best and stuff like that, and he came late to the concert. And at the front row, front row seat front row of the concert, a fan was sleeping. Which doesn't is not really a major issue, and he notices he notices that, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" Let me not sugarcoat this. He doesn't say what's going on. He's kind of like, "Oh, there's someone sleeping over here," and I think the person, which was a woman, the lady, came with someone else, and the guy, I think they were in a relationship. I can't really say, but there were two people, and Burna Boy was kind of like, "Hey, there's someone sleeping over here. Pack it up." Like, "Hey, Mr. Man, get your girl. Y'all should leave because you can't be sleeping at my concert. I'm out here performing my ass off for you guys. I'm not feeling the best, and I'm able to come here, and you come to my concert and you're sleeping." And he's like, "Hey, pack it up, get her out of here. I'm not gonna perform until she leaves," which is crazy because as a performer, obviously, okay. So me personally, when I heard this, I was like, "Oh, that's crazy. Someone sleeping at a concert is crazy." But the first thing that came to my mind is, it's not normal for someone to be sleeping at a concert. So your first thought as a performer should be, why is this person sleeping at my concert? I should probably find that out. Maybe for all we know, she could have passed out. Imagine she actually passed out. So I'm putting myself in that situation. If I was a performer performing at a concert and I saw someone sleeping at my concert, which isn't normal, my first question would be, whoa, that's not normal. Someone shouldn't be sleeping at a concert. What's going on? Is she good? Hey, someone check on her. Is she good? My first thought wouldn't be to tell someone who paid money. Getting front row tickets at any concert isn't cheap. So to tell someone who paid money to come to your to come to your concert, to go, to pack it up and leave, that's crazy. And to later find out from the individual that left that she was going through a tough time, that her kid's dad had just passed, just added a whole lot of smoke to the fire. And it's a whole lot of conversation going on Twitter, on X, online, and I personally I think he was wrong, and he hasn't apologized. He has been, kind of making light of the whole situation, saying it's his real fans that are supporting him, and it's like, as I said, as a Nigerian myself, I know how Nigerians act. I know how we go about our stuff, and we are a group of people that really like to. We take a lot of things for granted. Nigeria, we take a lot of things for granted, and we don't know how to really. I don't know how to put this in a way that doesn't come off as slating Nigerians. I'm just gonna put a kibosh on it. I think he was wrong. I think he should have apologized by now. And I think with the canceling of shows and stuff, I don't think it's related to the, stuff with, the fan and everything. I think it's just a coincidence that his shows got canceled, because I don't think, apparently people are not buying tickets, which is crazy. Hey, if you're not buying tickets, it's up to you at the end of the day. People are not buying tickets apparently, but I think it's far-fetched to say that the reason Burna Boy canceled his concerts are because of the fan situation. I don't think that's the case. But hey, it is what it is. a little question outside of football. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Evander, I think Evander has another
Evander
one in
Furry.
here.
People work remote now but somehow feel more tired.
I wish I didn't. I wish I didn't highlight that question or that statement. I wish I didn't highlight that because I work remotely and I feel tired. You know. I guess physically tired is not the way to describe the tiredness I feel when I work. So I work remotely. I work from home. I'm not doing this, not the streaming, by the way, like actual work from home. And I do get tired. I do get tired, but it's more of a mental tiredness than a physical tiredness, like feeling weak, stuff like that. No, I think mentally it's draining because it's still work at the end of the day. It's still work at the end of the day. So you will get tired. You know, it's not like you're a machine that's going, you know, running on petroleum or something. It's still, you know, it's still work. So although you're not moving from one place to another, it's still it's still mentally draining. It's still mentally draining, which is definitely what I feel when it comes to work and stuff like that.
Derek I9X. Haaland or Mbappe?
It depends on what you want. Both players are brilliant in their own right, but I think based on what you want from a forward, because I don't think Mbappe is a striker, so I'm going to say a forward. Based on what you want from a forward, you would have to pick between the two. If you want a striker, Haaland. If you want a forward, Mbappe. So I think it's really based on what what you really want from both players. As footballers, Mbappe. Mbappe has more to his game than Haaland does. But it's unfair because Haaland is a striker. I feel like you can't compare the two because both play two different positions. Mbappe is not a striker. Mbappe is a forward, but Haaland is a striker. Haaland is not a forward. Haaland is a forward, but he's a striker forward. He's a center forward, you know? Mbappe is a forward. He can play left wing, right wing, center forward, attacking mid. So I think with that, picking Mbappe and saying that Mbappe has more to his game doesn't really make too much sense because you can't expect Erling Haaland to have the skill sets Mbappe has. So I think they're all good in their own rights because Mbappe is a brilliant striker. The best striker in the world at the moment. And then Kylian Mbappe. So I think that's
Derek
the thing.
I9X. Yamal or Estevao?
That's not a debate. Yamal for sure. Although Estevao, I don't think we've seen enough of Estevao to compare him to Lamine Yamal. We've seen a full season of Lamine Yamal and what he's capable of. So I don't think it's fair to compare Estevao and Lamine Yamal. We've seen one full season of Lamine Yamal and what he can actually do. So I think until we see a full season of Estevao, which we're seeing this season, until we see that, we can't compare the two. I don't think so. I don't think we can compare the two.
Evander Furry. Mbappe peaked earlier than Haaland. Discuss.
I think they both peaked at the same time, which is this season. I think statistically, this is their best season. This is their best. This season. This season is their best statistically. So I think they both peaked at the same time, which is this season. I think we're looking at Mbappe and Haaland at their prime at the moment. This season. So I think, yeah, I don't think it's
FGH
an issue of both of them
7754.
peaking at.
Is data analytics improving football, or making it robotic?
How do I even answer this? For someone who's attempting to do a master's in data science, my eye. I guess you could say it's making it more robotic because teams are playing more percentage balls as compared to actually playing good football. Like seeing shots from outside the box and stuff like that. We haven't seen a lot of long range goals this season. We really haven't. And that's due to the fact that those balls have lower percentages of going into the back of the net, which the manager will probably be told by his scouts and analysis that would be the case. So I think it's making it more robotic. I think data analytics is good because you get to see stuff like injury trends. You get to see, which the weaknesses in teams and stuff like that. But over data and analysis, so too much of the data analysis is what is making the football more robotic, for sure. So I think it's good to a certain extent, but overdoing it is what is making it more, because long throws are being introduced back into the game because of the fact that it has a higher chance of leading to goal as compared to a short throw. But I'm happy to see that people are not.
People don't read long articles anymore. They like want teams like PSG. 30-second breakdowns.
What was that? Let me hear that again.
Evander Furry. People don't read long articles anymore. They want 30-second breakdowns.
Yeah. I think the attention span of people have definitely gone down, for sure. You need to always have clicks, jingle bells, something to keep them focused. Which I won't lie, I do fall into that category sometimes. Sometimes I do, my attention span is not the best. I do think that, but people are just, I think it's obviously social media has made things the way it is now. Everyone is just on TikTok making short videos. And even if your long form videos do well, you still have to have something that is, stimulating to the brain constantly. So I think, it's definitely a thing. We'll be wrapping up the stream soon, actually. I've enjoyed it. An hour of just talking football. I've enjoyed the conversations. You guys have been
9X.
Absolutely.
Mbappe of Kane.
Mbappe of Kane? Or Mbappe or Kane? I think you meant to say Mbappe or Kane. I'm just going to take it as Mbappe or Kane. I think this is more of an argument, Mbappe or Harry Kane, because I think Harry Kane is also a good forward. I don't think Harry Kane can play left wing, can he? I don't think Harry Kane is good. I don't think Harry Kane has a skill set to play left wing. I really don't. So I think it's still Mbappe. I think it's still Mbappe. As a striker, definitely Harry Kane is a better striker than Mbappe. But as a forward, I think Mbappe is a better forward. So for me, I will take Mbappe over Kane. I will take Mbappe over Kane. If there are no more comments, what's it been? It's been an hour and 10 minutes. I've enjoyed the conversations. If you guys don't have any more stuff to talk about, it's been interesting. The comments have been very good. I've very much enjoyed this. Maybe we'll do more of this. In the future. But I just wanted to have something to talk about today because I know there's not going to be content today in relation to football and stuff like that because there's really nothing going on. There really isn't nothing. I mean, unless Manchester City go on to lose to Leeds, I'll be watching the match, but I don't think I'll make a match reaction to any of them because I think they're going to be routine wins. I don't think there's going to be anything extra that there's going to be talked about. Really don't. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how things go. But tomorrow is going to be the big one. You know, Manchester United versus Crystal Palace, Arsenal versus Chelsea. I think I have a Serie A match tomorrow. Napoli versus Roma as well. So I have interesting matches to watch tomorrow and do some match reactions and watch alongs and all sorts of stuff like that. So I will catch you guys tomorrow. I've enjoyed the conversations. Derek, Evander, FGH. I've definitely enjoyed all the conversations for sure. Keep the support going on. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay safe out there.